Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I have with me Scott Knowles, CEO and co-founder at LostScan. Scott, how's it going today? Thank you for joining me.
Oh yeah, of course. No, I appreciate the invite. It's going great, actually. It's a beautiful day here today, and just enjoying my day, working on all sorts of new things. So yeah, everything's great.
Awesome. And according to LinkedIn, you're a West Coaster in Oregon. But just before we start recording, you mentioned that you go a little bit more mountain during the summer. So Coeur d'Alene, Idaho for the summer?
Yeah. So we actually, our office is in Bend, Oregon, which is actually a very similar climate as it is here. But the difference is in Coeur d'Alene, we have easy access to the lake and everything. And so we'd like to take the girls and let them enjoy the water in the lake and do a lot of water sports. So yeah, we're up here for right now. So I'm a little bit remote.
Fantastic. I'm a big fan of remote. I am down in Argentina right now. So big fan of a true digital nomad here. So we always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. What is LostScan?
Sure, absolutely. So LostScan is essentially a software that we developed in order to help take data that is really difficult to extract from a PDF document and turn it into live real data. And essentially, the biggest problem that we have in the insurance industry, or one of the biggest problems, is spending a lot of time, money, and not being able to get the accuracy from taking information off of loss runs and giving insurance underwriters or MGAs or brokers the capability of accessing this data quickly and easily to be able to either import it into their systems for doing rating purposes, for doing analysis, or whatever it may be. And really, this is something that we had thought about a very long time ago, as I was the prior CEO and co-founder of a company by the name of Mogic, which we were acquired a few years ago by Xywave. And through that period of time, my partner and I, we decided that once we finalized everything with them, that we were going to go ahead and jump on the next big venture, which is LostScan. And so we did a little field testing and checked out the marketplace to see really what's out there. And as of right now, from what we saw, I mean, we really feel as though we've got a real home run winning product. And we literally just launched, the beginning of June, the beginning of June. I think it was June 5th that we launched the product. And we're just getting some fantastic reviews already. We've already got hundreds of loss runs already mapped within our system. So it just really is making our lives a lot easier, and those users out there a lot easier to be able to get this information and turn it into something. So we have a lot of big plans for the product. Right now it's in its infancy, but growing quickly. And I'm lucky enough to have a lot of relationships out there in the insurance marketplace because I've been in the business for 25 years as a commercial insurance agent, and turning that into somebody who's a software developer, essentially, and building something from scratch as a SaaS. Way back when, I guess it was 14 years ago when we developed the first thing in Mogic, and InsurTech wasn't really a thing yet, and that was a frustration. So we were really one of the very first InsurTechs out there that were building a product for brokers and agents to be able to use, and it's been nice to watch, the expansion of this entire InsurTech marketplace, and continue to grow. So I feel as though I'm very lucky and fortunate that we've gone through the process of having our first SaaS, and now, really we're doing a great job with the second one and listening to what our users want and building exactly what they need to fulfill their overall obligations. So yeah, I mean, that's essentially what LostScan is, right now in its infancy, and I'm sure, we can talk about, what it's going to look like in the future as well down the road.
Absolutely. Okay. So loss. The exchange of data in our industry, as a former underwriter, horribly frustrating. I was a middle market underwriter for a very large carrier, loved it, but I was blown away. And by the way, my girlfriend spent 6 years at a very large broker. I was never her underwriter, but basically like what we were both remote, and on one side of the wall. I was not remote as an underwriter, but I did work remote on Fridays. So on any given Friday, on one side of the wall, I'm receiving loss runs on PDF. On the other side of the wall, she's sending other underwriters loss runs on PDF, and like those loss runs, like what kills me is knowing that those loss runs came from Epic or Vertiful, right? They're already digital, and they get printed to a PDF instead of some sort of electronic transfer,
Totally.
right? And for agencies, this is horribly frustrating when they're trying to write an account that they don't own, or when trying to move an account. And I've had a couple people on the podcast that are working kind of on the agency side of this problem, helping agencies secure loss runs. So it sounds like what you guys are doing with this new effort is making any sort of loss run digestible to whatever other carrier is looking at quoting this.
Absolutely. And, so
Okay.
here's the biggest problem you have, right? As an underwriter or even as a producer, right? When you get loss runs, and the good news is, in today's day and age, most of the loss runs are coming across digital. So they're not photocopies, they're not images. So I'd say about 80% of them are coming across digitally, which means that we have the ability to segregate the information that's on that PDF document, right? We can actually look at it and say, hey, this is a claim number, this is a total paid amount, this is a claim description, whatever it may be, right? So because we're in that place right now, our capability to take this information and pull it off, right? And then give it to a producer. And it's like, well, what is a producer going to do with this information, right? So, because there's different needs for different users, right? An underwriter has a totally different need than a risk manager than a producer does. So for example, one of the cool tools we're building in for producers is the capability for you to import a loss run. And just so you know, when you bring everything into our system, what happens is we not only maintain that PDF document, within our system, so we'll constantly have it there. You can go back, you can look at it, you can download it, do whatever you want with it, but then you get to see your information. So because of that, you can literally go in and import a loss run, and then 6 months later, import a new loss run. And then we're actually going to do a comparison. So you'll be able to see what's changed between this one and this one. And we'll show you the difference between what's changed. So maybe there's a new claim on there. Maybe a claim is closed. Maybe a reserve is dropped. So we're eliminating that brain damage that somebody's sitting in an office and looking at this loss run and going, okay, now let's look at the new loss run. Okay, what's changed here? This is just crazy. And then in many cases, they have to take that information and enter it into a system so they can present it to their customer. So we're also addressing that challenge by taking different formats of loss runs and creating a new all equalized PDF. So you can decide what goes in that PDF. It's almost like having, a TPA who has multiple different carriers and they submit one loss run that all looks the same. Well, we're going to do the exact same thing. And in that loss run, it'll also show those changes if you elect to show those differentiating policies from one policy time to another policy time. In addition to that, you can select multiple policies and just turn it into one original PDF, right? So we're addressing that broker challenge, from that standpoint to give them those capabilities so that they can be better educators to their clients, because that's really what a producer does. Their job is to educate their clients to make better decisions, right? But without the information easily at their hand, they can't really do that. So we're really tackling that piece. Then from the standpoint of like a MGA or MGU or an underwriter, whatever it may be, we're also giving them the capability of analyzing risks more efficiently, right? Because our information comes out perfect, right? The data is exact. There's no human error, going in, somebody mistype and type in $1 million on a claim instead of $100,000 on a claim. It changes the whole perspective, right? So we're really eliminating those problems that have been in the industry, as well as, the thought process that you have to send your information to companies that have to go through this process of extracting information, which they don't have the same technology that we do. So they're doing it manually, right? And then they're sending it back, to the carriers for them to have it. And that takes time. Where for us, we can take 300 pages, put it in our system, and we can spit out 1,000 losses in literally under 30 seconds, perfectly. And it's just really incredible. And the way that we've developed this, it's kind of funny because as we continue to develop and change the product, we've realized that this product really lives not just in the insurance industry, it actually lives in a lot of other industries, the banking industry,
Really?
Accounting industries, because we built this algorithm and AI that is so unreal that we have the flexibility and capability of mapping literally anything, any PDF document you can put into our system, and we can map it. So it's pretty cool. It's an exciting time for us because we really feel like we've broken a mold that's been out there for a long time and fixed a problem. So yeah, we're super excited about it.
That's fantastic. Why hasn't this been done before?
Well, let me give you an example. When I was at Mogic and running that company, one of our main focuses was to take the PDF mod worksheets, experience mod worksheets, right, and get them into our system quickly and easily. In the infancy of our product, it was a manual process. It was something that you actually had to physically go in, you had to look at the mod worksheet and put it in the system. And then my business partner, Wesley, and I were talking about it. I said, hey, there's got to be a way that we can get this information off. I mean, right now people send it through a PDF, extractor, online, and you get data, but it's just a mess, and you got to reorganize it and put it different places, and then you still have errors that go through. So we came up with the concept of let's scrape the information off of PDF documents for mod worksheets and get it into our system so we can get instant analysis, right? So that was a challenge that we overcame. As time went on, we continued to develop out that product to be able to do different levels type of analysis, to get into things like the nature, the cause, the body part. And we had customers from time to time, they're saying, hey, is there any way you can do what you did with the mod worksheets and loss runs? We're like, no. You know how many different versions of loss runs there are out there? You know how complicated that is? You know how long it would take? We're not going to do that. No. But it always was something that was in the back of our head that, that might be a cool company to start in the future and do that. So that's really, where the concept came from, is just the need in the marketplace to get that information quickly and easily. And now we're lucky enough that, we've got great relationships with Zywave and such, and some of those companies, and they, have since, redeveloped their ModMaster platform. And so we'll be talking with them on, hey, well, now we can work with you on potentially helping your customers extract that information and get into, your systems, or Vertafore, and Applied. I mean, they're all looking for something like this, as well as all the carriers. I mean, so it was, I think the reason why it's hasn't been done and why now we're doing it is because it is just a complex challenge. And I'm very lucky that I've got a fantastic business partner, who we can bounce ideas off each other on how this could actually happen. And we literally just sat down and said, wow, we could actually build this in this way and make it happen and not have to have thousands of people behind us doing coding constantly, because instead of coding to every single loss run, we literally have built an AI that works for every loss run. So it's a lot less strenuous on code. It's a lot less strenuous on human capital and everything else, which is one of our primary focuses anyways of our product. Is we want to save only human capital. Time is money, right? Accuracy, time, and money. Those are three extremely important things, challenges that we're truly solving in this situation. So,
what is the integration process like? Is most of the carriers are still in their own internal transformation, right? Many of them are already on Guidewire or Duck Creek, which arguably at this point are kind of legacy systems. So some are still in the process of getting there. How do we integrate? So we give it a try. We love it. What does integration look like?
Yeah. So there's two things we've done. Number one, we understand that every system has a different way of getting information into their systems, either through an API or through an import, through a CSV file or JSON or whatever it may be. So creatively, what we came up with was a concept that within the extraction process, so when you put something in, you get all your data, we've now laid out every single field that we possibly can on the loss run. You can see it all in front of you. But maybe a system only needs, the claim number, it needs the paid to date and the total incurred and the reserves. And that's all it wants to see. It doesn't care about the claimant's name, doesn't care about the class code, the vehicle type, or whatever it may be. So in the export process, in our system, you can actually build your own export templates on your own. So you easily just say, hey, I want to build a template that's going to go into ABC system, right? And so, okay, great. What fields do you want? And so you select the items that we have available that we're able to extract off of loss runs, and maybe those field headers have different names, we also allow you to rename them to exactly what you need to import into your system. So in the infancy of the product right now, essentially anybody who has the ability to import a CSV or JSON file can use our system as they want. Now, that's in the infancy. It doesn't mean that that's what the short-term, long-term is. The short-term and long-term is to have direct API integrations into carriers. So if a Travelers or an ICW or Hartford, whoever it is, comes to us and said, "Hey, we love this. We want to be able to sign up and get everything set up. We now need a direct API into our system." That's great. We'll just go ahead and build the API. So that'll allow them within their system to say it's a direct Hartford API into their system. Now, the next level beyond that, from some of the carriers that we've already been talking to, is said, well, we want something where when we have a submission that comes in, we just want it to go through your system and give us the data. So we're also going to be building the ability for somebody to literally drag and drop when they drop their loss runs into and upload them into Hartford or whoever it may be. It'll automatically extract that information and just give them the data. But at the same time, we're also addressing the other issue, which is a producer who is doing a submission. And when they do a submission, they've got to send loss runs, right? And we want to give the carrier the capability of easily looking at that information. So we're going to give the producers the ability to share a link. And that link will be a direct link with a data ability for them to extract the data through loss scan, right? As long as they have an account, they'll be able to extract the data right out of that individual submission. They'll be able to see all of the loss runs individually to verify this is a loss run, all the data looks good. At the same time, we're going to set it up so where we can guarantee that that loss run has not been tampered with, to give them the feel and thought that, okay, nobody's touched this from the point that it came out of the other system, because we can tell when something's been tampered with. So
does that happen? I was not aware that was a problem.
That is a problem in the industry. Absolutely. It's a well-known problem that producers will take PDF loss runs and they'll put them through a PDF editor and change things. And so what does that do, right? The only way an underwriter would ever know is if they receive the same submission from another producer and now they see a difference between the loss.
We wouldn't catch it. At least back in my day, we would have no way to
tell. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so those are, obviously concerns that we needed to address, because they're the concerns we've heard from the carriers is, well, how can you make sure that this hasn't been tampered with? So these are all really cool things that are on our forefront as we continue to move forward of what we'll be doing with loss scan, as well as we're also going to be doing heat mapping. So that'll be a really big challenge that we move into probably next year, is once we have, a significant amount of loss data within our system, we'll give carriers or agencies or whoever it wants the ability to be able to, from a high level, never down to a detailed level, but from a high level say, oh, in California, in this class code, what are the, what's the claimed frequency that we're seeing, right? Where is a good place in California to actually write this class code because we like this? Or in Texas, what states are the best states to be able to write these particular class codes? Where do we see the most vehicles being stolen? Whatever it may be, whatever data that we have, we'll be able to create those high-level heat maps based on the information that's been entered in our system. Now, of course, 1,000%, we will never share anything that gets down to an individual, to a broker, to a carrier, so forth, so on. It will always be at a high level to protect those individuals who have data that's in our system, because it's always been a main priority of mine. Privacy is just the utmost importance for anybody who's using any sort of software system. So.
I'm just curious. So that step sounds like 3D chess. So I'm just curious. Doesn't Verisk or Lexus or one of the other data, like legacy data? No, I don't want to call them legacy. Verisk especially, I like it a lot. But one of the long time data providers in our industry, don't they offer those kind of heat maps, or what is it they're missing? Yeah,
absolutely. They very well may, but from the level that we're going to be able to actually do what we want to do, you have to understand that, two things. Number one, a lot of the technology that's in the insurance industry today isn't developed by somebody who was essentially in the trenches of that product, right? They didn't necessarily know what that product was. They were just tasked with the ability that somebody said, hey, it'd be cool if something like this could happen. And then they hired somebody on a third party. And that's why, unfortunately, you see a lot of very ugly softwares out there. That's why, like a lot of the loss runs we get, we look at these things and say, who in the world came up with the concept that this is a good looking loss run? That
somebody who didn't have to use it for anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane to us. It's like, who built this? And it's usually somebody who's just tasked, with the job. You need to build this, and they don't understand the mentality, the need in the industry. And
they're not a user.
Yeah, they're not a user. And so that's where, we've been very strong, is because I have been in the business for so long. I understand exactly, what the marketplace really wants and needs. I know how to address the problem. We're extremely creative. We're forward thinking. We think beyond just what is in front of us today. We have, a roadmap that is just incredibly long on what we can do. And we have so many ideas on how we can improve things, that it really gives us kind of that key level up of what we can accomplish, for the industry itself. And we do know that heat mapping is something that's requested. And yes, it's being provided out there, but no, not everybody has access to it because it's extremely expensive. So why not provide something like that within our system? That could be as little as user-based. So maybe we just have one user who wants to see all their own information, right? Maybe they're entertaining a new carrier and they want to be able to see what their book of business looks like based on the loss runs that were sent, uploaded into LossScan. Well, they can essentially create this great picture and have the ability to go either build a program if they want. They could build a captive program. They could approach a carrier and say, hey, we know that you guys do this, and we know that we have a great book of business that fits, so let's figure out something. We can see where the profitability levels are going to be, and build something around that. So, really, I think data itself and its ability is, and the capabilities that have been tapped into in the insurance industry right now it's still in its infancy. I mean, we have such a long way to go. And we're certainly going to be on the forefront in our minds, on what we can do and take things to the next level.
I've got to say, look, yes, I'll say it now and I'll continue the question. I've got to say, out of the hundreds of episodes we've done, maybe 60, 70 of them have been with very early stage insurtechs. I don't remember anybody else making this complete of a pitch, giving this complete of a vision for what they want to do. You can definitely tell, number one, that you come from the industry, not just a tech hammer looking for an insurance nail, like a lot of InsurTech 1.0. But also that you've had one exit already, that you've gone through this once before. So yeah, very, very cool. What's the pricing like?
So, it's funny, because we're in the infancy, we've done a lot of research, in the forefront. We started this process by working with some specific carriers and saying, what is reasonable in the marketplace? What do you think makes sense for you from a cost dollar average? We did a lot of, pre-discovery demos, in the marketplace to different individuals. And some of the feedback we got was, well, how many of these do we have to do in a X period of time? And we've had comments say, well, it took me 8 hours to do this one loss run. So how much does an underwriter make, or a person who does this, how much do you make a year? Do the math and figure it out, and that's all they do. And I said, okay, well, we'll be a heck of a lot less expensive than that. Right. So there's different ways that we've right now, the way we're currently priced is based on a charge per page, and only a charge per page that actually has live data on it. Right. So there's this base subscription, level that you have that you can get in. You get a certain number of pages, within that subscription level. And then you can essentially purchase additional pages on top of that, the more pages you buy, the less the cost per page goes down. So, it can get, significantly low on cost per page. Now, where we're examining the potential that, well, maybe we'll get away from the cost of page and maybe we'll look at options like a cost per claim, and come up with a lower cost, instead of per page, because in some cases you have a loss run that has one claim on it or two claims. So that there's a variance in that. And so I feel as though we've always been very fair in the way that we look at our pricing. We want somebody to feel comfortable with using the system. We want them to use it. Obviously, the more they use it, the more beneficial it is to them, the more beneficial it is to us, and it works, right? So the pricing platform is, I would say, in flux, but we do have a pre-established pricing platform right now, and we do have it set up on an annual subscription, basis that renews annually. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much how it's set up. It's pretty simple and straightforward. I mean, the best thing about our system is when you run a loss run through our system, it'll tell you how many pages were there. It'll tell you how many claims are on that page or in the entire loss run. It'll tell you how many incidents. So for instance, in an auto loss run, you may have a single claim, but you may have 5 individual claims as well that are within that, with individuals. So we actually count that as well. And then we're also able to count the pages that actually have data on it. So, you may scan in a document that has, 200 pages, but, 180 of them are all that has data on it. Well, that's all we charge for. And so that's all that goes against, what you've purchased.
Okay, so I do see on the website that you do have a request demo, so very easy to get a demo. When this goes live, I will tag both you and the company on LinkedIn. We're recording on July 21st, so the spring conference season is over, and we're all kind of in the summer house, so to speak. Nobody hosts events.
Yep.
Fall conference season for carrier executives that want to meet you in person. What conferences do you already know you'll be at?
So we're still exploring which ones that we want to be at. There's a potential we'll be at ITC, so we're considering, going to ITC. There's another one, which is a West Coast conference that's coming up. I can't think of the name of it at this point in time, but there's a couple that we will be attending. One of the biggest challenges, with any SaaS is, when you're in the startup mode, you've got the goal to grow, obviously, but at the same time, you're in development mode, so you're developing and you're doing everything you can to do that. You're testing out your new customers are coming in, making sure that they're happy and they're pleased with the product. You're listening, which I think is probably the most important thing of any software or any individual out there, is to listen to what your customers are saying and make changes, be flexible, try to implement these things to make that happen. So because of those things that are going on, we're still focused on that kind of infancy stage. We expect that, later on in the year, we will definitely be out in the public, in front of people where they can actually come by and play with the system and talk to us. But we do have, kind of a trial subscription that's out there that you can do that's, much less expensive, and you can test it out and talk to us about that as well. Although we really only have, I think, one person who signed up for that. Most of it just love the system and have signed up for our package and are growing into it and are excited about it. So yeah, I mean, we will be out there, and it's kind of interesting when I was at the other company, we didn't attend a lot of actual conferences. Most of our product was through word of mouth. We did a lot of these, as well as just a lot of people loved the product, loved what we were doing, and talked about us. And that's the word of mouth just makes everything very, very beneficial to us, because it just tells us that we're doing something right too. So
absolutely, also awesome to have you in the show this early on in the infancy of the product. Looking forward to have you back in a year or two, talk about how things have progressed. Maybe next time we'd love to have you and like one of your clients.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. Always interesting to have second-time InsurTech founders. For a long time, there was no such thing, right? We're on the podcast for like 200 episodes before anybody had an exit, much less created a second company. I vividly remember the first time that somebody was a second time, and now it's happening a little more. So it's always very interesting because you bring a much more mature perspective to InsurTech than the original InsurTechs that didn't understand the insurance or that like quite simply, they did not have a good roadmap.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, of course. I really appreciate the invitation, and certainly, I absolutely would love to come back on with you. I love doing these. It's a great way for me to kind of get out there and meet everybody and see who we are. From a little bit of a different standpoint than a website. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of people see it. It's like, oh, you're just a website. It's not. We're humans, and we're out here working for you. So. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and look forward to getting this out there and helping you promote it. So,
thank you.